This podcast explores a series of bold predictions for the world in 2050, covering everything from the regulation of AI and the future of geopolitics to advancements in space travel and medicine. The unique format features the host reacting to a pre-written script, frequently challenging its timelines and conclusions, creating a lively debate between two distinct perspectives. From the timeline for true artificial intelligence to the shifting balance of global power, where exactly do these two visions for our future clash most dramatically?
Have you ever paused to truly imagine what life will be like in just 25 years? We're talking about 2050. I mean, it feels close enough to almost touch, doesn't it? But still distant enough for, well, potentially radical change.
It's a fascinating thought experiment, definitely.
Yeah. So today we're embarking on a deep dive into exactly that, what the world might actually look like in 2050.
And we've gathered quite a stack of sources for this one, a whole collection of fascinating insights, some really bold predictions, and yeah, even a few ideas that might initially strike you as, let's say, a little out there.
Right.
But our mission here isn't just to, report on these forecasts. It's really to help you unpack what seems most important within them, to understand the why behind some of these projections and really get a grasp on how these potential futures could maybe unfold around you.
Because let's be completely upfront from the start here, predicting the future is, well, it's notoriously difficult. Just think back to, say, 2008. How many people would have just dismissed Bitcoin as like the stupidest thing they'd ever heard of?
Yeah, I remember that sentiment.
Only for it to completely defy all those skeptics and eventually hit, what, heights of $120,000 per coin? It's wild.
Or think about MP3 players. Remember those?
Oh, yeah. Meteoric rise, right. Redefined everything for a bit.
And then, poof.
Yeah.
Vanished almost as quickly as they appeared. Technology moves fast.
It really does. And yet we're currently living through, I think it's fair to say, an incredibly volatile period. Global politics, economics, tech, climate change, medicine, AI.
It's all converging. All seem to be at these critical tipping points.
Exactly. So this deep dive, we're going to explore how these powerful converging forces might profoundly transform our world.
So if you're someone who is, intensely curious about what's coming down the pike, how these massive changes might specifically impact your life, and maybe what surprising facts you really need to know to feel truly well-informed,
then you are definitely in the right place.
Yeah, we're here to sort of guide you through this complex landscape, try and simplify the tricky bits, and highlight what feels really crucial.
Okay, all right, let's unpack this whole prediction thing a bit more. Because it's key, right?
It really is.
Even when things feel stable, predictable. Trying to map out 25, 50, 150 years ahead, most of the time, it's largely inaccurate.
Largely, yeah. Sometimes spectacularly wrong.
And let's be honest, many would argue we are currently in a period that is anything but stable. We're seeing unprecedented volatility, these rapid shifts across so many interconnected areas.
It's such a critical observation. This volatility, it's not just a buzzword they throw around.
Right.
It refers to genuinely critical tipping points that are actively reshaping things right now.
Yeah.
Global politics, economics, tech, climate, medicine, all at once.
All interconnected.
Exactly. These huge forces are converging in ways that make charting the future with any real certainty just exceptionally challenging. Go back to that Bitcoin example we just talked about. 2008, widely dismissed. Niche idea, maybe even nonsensical to most.
Totally.
Yet it defied all that skepticism, became worth, $120,000 at its peak. That just powerfully illustrates how even ideas that seem out there, or frankly, stupid at first, they can take off in a monumental way simply because the underlying conditions of our world shift so profoundly. It's a real testament to how quickly the seemingly impossible can become, well, reality.
It truly is incredible to watch unfold. Now, okay. Think about your own life for a second. Your childhood home, maybe your neighborhood.
Okay.
How much has truly changed in the physical world around you in the last 25 years?
For me, thinking back, the Blockbuster video store across the street from my parents' place.
Ah, Blockbuster, wow.
Yeah, it got replaced by an elderly activity center. Which I guess is fitting in its own way. A symbolic shift maybe, but hardly futuristic.
Definitely not flying cars.
Definitely not. The streets aren't full of flying cars. Kids aren't zooming around on hoverboards with robot dogs.
Right.
That world of Blade Runner, which was set in 2019, remember? Yeah, 2019. Still feels incredibly distant from our physical reality, doesn't it?
Totally.
And what's truly fascinating here, and this is a key insight from our sources, is that while our tangible physical surroundings might seem to change at a relatively slow pace.
Like no flying cars yet.
Exactly, no flying cars yet. The most dramatic, the most transformative shifts have actually been related to the internet. We're talking about its speed, which is just mind-boggling now, the millions of ways we use it. And its near total ubiquity, especially thanks to smartphones.
Right, smartphones changed everything.
It really did. The real transformations, the ones that profoundly reshape our daily lives, often happen subtly, kind of inside and on computers.
Hidden, almost.
Yeah, they quietly re-architect our experiences rather than showing up as these grand, visible changes in the outside world. And this pattern suggests a future where these digital and sort of internal technological shifts will probably continue to outpace those more visible external ones.
Making the really fundamental changes often invisible until, boom, they're already deeply part of our lives.
Precisely.
Okay, so with that crucial understanding of how tricky and sometimes, deceptive future predictions can be, let's now dive into some of the most compelling forecasts specifically for 2050.
Right.
And we're going to start with maybe the most talked about technological force that's already reshaping, well, pretty much everything. Artificial intelligence, AI.
Right. There's absolutely no question about this one, and our sources are pretty much unanimous here. AI is going to be a huge, ubiquitous part of our future. It just is.
It already feels like it is in many ways.
Oh, it's expanding rapidly, reaching into almost every conceivable sector. We've seen it go from mastering incredibly complex games like chess, to streamlining intricate manufacturing processes, optimizing global supply chains with amazing precision, helping with crucial medical diagnoses, even fundamentally transforming education through, like, personalized learning.
It's everywhere.
There's pretty much no limit, as one source put it, to its potential uses. And its presence in our daily lives will likely become so deeply ingrained, so embedded, that we might not even consciously notice it most of the time. It'll be this sort of invisible, ambient intelligence working in the background.
That's a powerful point, the subtle ubiquity. If it's already so deep without us noticing, does that make it even harder to, regulate? You hinted at that earlier. How do you control something that's everywhere and often unseen?
That's a huge question, and we'll definitely circle back to the regulation piece. It's critical.
Okay.
But just focusing on capabilities for a second, it is truly everywhere, whether you explicitly know it or not.
Right. I mean, thinking back to those early AI milestones, like Deep Blue beating Kasparov in chess.
A huge moment.
Huge. And now my phone, this thing in my pocket, can absolutely crush Magnus Carlsen, who's arguably the greatest human chess player ever.
It's incredible progress.
And what's fascinating, right, is how it does it. Not by thinking like a human, not strategy in our sense. It's pure mathematical calculation.
Brute force computation, essentially.
Yeah. Processing every game ever played, evaluating billions of positions a second. That's the kind of immense, almost alien power we're dealing with, even in these supposedly narrow applications.
And that brings us right to one of the biggest, most hotly debated distinctions in the whole AI world. The difference between that narrow AI and artificial general intelligence, or AGI.
Right, the AGI, the holy grail, kind of.
Exactly. So one perspective, and it's quite strong among some researchers, suggests that by 2050, we will only have narrow AI.
Okay.
That means AI systems expertly trained for very specific tasks, like that chess engine, or the medical AI designed only to spot certain types of tumors.
Got it.
This view argues that getting to true AGI, which would mean replicating the incredibly vast, complex, and still largely mysterious functions of the human brain from scratch.
Which we barely understand ourselves.
Precisely. They argue it's just not feasible within that time frame because our understanding of our own brains is still, frankly, incredibly limited.
Okay, that makes sense.
But here's where it gets really interesting, as you said, because there's another equally compelling perspective that strongly believes AGI, or at least something very close to human-level intelligence across a wide range of cognitive tasks, will arrive well before 2050.
Wow, okay. How?
Well, they argue partly that the very definition of AGI is kind of a moving target.
Ah, okay. Explain that.
Think about it. If someone from, say, 2012, just over a decade ago, were to encounter something like ChatGPT today, they might very well look at its ability to generate coherent text, answer complex questions, write code. They might consider that AGI, or damn close to it.
That's a fair point. Our goalposts shift.
Exactly. And this expert view from our sources goes further. It suggests that AI will eventually destroy humans across the vast majority 95% of what we do, meaning outperform us even before 2050.
Whoa. Okay, destroy is a strong word. Outperform, maybe?
Outperform, yes.
Yeah.
In terms of task completion. But critically, not necessarily by mimicking the human brain.
Ah, like the chess example again.
Precisely. It might achieve this dominance through different, fundamentally more efficient computational methods, like those chess computers just doing maths incredibly well rather than strategizing like a human.
So it's about getting superior results through a different path. A non-human, maybe even alien intelligence that just computes better?
That's the idea. Achieving the goal, but maybe in a way we can't fully comprehend.
That distinction feels crucial. Narrow AI is amazing at its job, but AGI, that could learn anything a human can. Transfer knowledge, that's different.
It's profoundly different. And the debate isn't just when, but how. Will it be bio-inspired, trying to copy nature, or something completely new based on computational principles we haven't even discovered yet?
And tied into that is how we even define general intelligence for a machine as it gets smarter. The bar keeps moving.
It does. And this whole AI revolution isn't just about capabilities getting better and better. It's also about this looming crisis of control and maybe even trust.
Okay, back to the regulation point.
Yeah. There's a strong prediction in our sources that generative AI, think advanced ChatGPTs and beyond, will be highly regulated, maybe even completely illegal in some places, by 2050.
Why? What's the driving force?
Well, it's not just hypothetical worries. It's driven by significant tangible concerns. One big one is copyright.
The training data issue.
Exactly. The allegations of unauthorized use of vast amounts of copyrighted stuff, books, articles, art by big tech companies to train their models. That's a huge legal battleground right now.
Okay. And the other driver, you mentioned deepfakes.
Yes. And this is maybe even more critical, more existentially worrying. The terrifying proliferation of deepfake content.
This gets us into that post-truth world idea, doesn't it?
It plunges us right into it. It's a concept that's been gaining alarming traction since maybe around 2016, where personal belief, feelings seem to often trump objective facts.
Yeah, it feels that way sometimes.
And AI has the potential to amplify that trend to unprecedented, truly destabilizing levels. Right now, maybe surprisingly, a lot of deepfake content involves, well, manipulating celebrity images for illicit purposes.
Right, I've heard that. Kind of a weird dark side effect.
It is, but it provides a stark, if memorable, example where certain fringe or illicit industries, often driven by just immediate raw demand, rapidly adopt new tech. The broader applications, both the good and the deeply problematic, often follow close behind. Think about technologies like encryption or secure payments. Many were first developed or refined for less reputable uses before going mainstream.
That's a fascinating pattern. So porn leads the way, essentially.
Sometimes, unfortunately, yes. Or at least the less savory applications can be early adopters and drivers of the tech itself. It's a pattern worth watching very carefully with deepfakes.
So if that historical pattern holds, we should expect deepfakes to evolve incredibly fast.
Breathtakingly fast. Right now, maybe an AI-generated image or video still has tells, little giveaways for a sharp eye.
Yeah, the weird hands phase.
Exactly. But remember, the tech is improving exponentially. Our sources predict it will become harder even for intelligent and skeptical people to tell the difference between what's real and what's fake.
That is genuinely terrifying. That creates a massive foundational problem for civilization, doesn't it? Especially with authoritarianism seemingly on the rise globally.
Huge problem. Imagine a world where fake content can be generated as irrefutable proof for lies. Manufactured political scandals, fabricated evidence in court, even fake wartime atrocities.
Undermining any shared sense of reality, any trust.
Precisely. The implications are profoundly destabilizing. Now, completely outlawing generative AI, that's one suggestion that comes up.
But how would that even work globally?
Exactly. It faces immense challenges because of international competition. You have Europe taking one approach, the US another, China another still. It's a complex web.
So what's the alternative?
Well, another solution being heavily explored is implementing digital certificates for basically all online content, like how websites use security certificates, SSL/TLS.
Okay, yeah, like a digital watermark or signature.
Kind of. Something to verify the authenticity of every image, video, audio file. Prove it hasn't been tampered with or generated by AI without disclosure.
That sounds complicated, but maybe necessary.
It might be. But the stark reality, as one source powerfully put it, is that the genie is already out of the bottle.
Meaning, even if we outlawed it tomorrow.
Even then, completely stopping deepfakes from muddying the waters of reality would be incredibly difficult, probably impossible. The tools are out there, the models exist.
So the challenge becomes less about stopping it entirely and more about adapting. Learning to live in a world where you can't always trust what you see or hear online.
That seems to be the grim reality we're heading towards. Adapting to a world where verifiable truth is no longer just a given.
Wow. Okay, so our digital future, shaped by AI, is really redefining truth itself. But while we're grappling with these, let's call them fluid realities, our physical world is still undergoing its own dramatic, undeniable changes. Let's pivot now. Away from the screens and algorithms, back to the ground beneath our feet, the skies above. Let's confront the urgent, unavoidable call of a changing climate.
Right. A very different but equally profound challenge.
How will these environmental pressures finally force governments to act? And what might our cities actually look like when the waters inevitably rise?
Well, by 2050, it's basically a certainty, according to our sources, that governments will finally start addressing climate change with the seriousness it demands.
Finally. But why then? What changes?
It likely won't be driven purely by a sudden wave of idealism or just accepting the science, unfortunately.
Okay.
Rather, it'll be compelled by the direct, escalating, and incredibly costly effects they'll be forced to deal with.
Oh, the money.
Yeah. Think catastrophic events like proper serious flooding, intensifying wildfires, droughts, superstorms, events that punch massive, undeniable holes in national budgets, insurance markets collapsing, infrastructure failing.
So it hits the bottom line hard.
Exactly. While it will, very sadly, be too late to entirely reverse some effects by then. The financial and societal burden will just become so severe that political action, however reluctant, becomes an absolute necessity. The cost of inaction will simply be too high to ignore anymore.
It's incredibly frustrating, though, isn't it? That it often takes that kind of direct, financially devastating hit to spur real action, especially when we have shown we can act collectively on big environmental threats before.
That's true.
What's fascinating here, and maybe a point often overlooked, is the huge success story of the hole in the ozone layer.
The Montreal Protocol.
Right. Some listeners might be too young to remember how big a crisis that felt in the 80s.
It was huge. Front page news constantly.
And that Montreal Protocol, signed in '87, led to an amazing and 99% decrease in the production of those ozone-depleting CFCs.
Chlorofluorocarbons, yeah. Used in aerosols refrigeration.
And since then, the hole has been steadily healing. It's expected to be completely gone in the next few decades. That's a massive success story. It proves, unequivocally, we can act together effectively when we take a problem seriously and adopt alternatives.
It absolutely does. Which leads us naturally to ask that crucial question. Why couldn't we do the same for fossil fuels? What makes this challenge so fundamentally different?
Yeah, why?
Well, the key difference really lies in the economic scale and the deeply entrenched lobbying power.
Okay.
While CFCs were valuable, sure, they were also relatively easy to replace with alternative chemicals that did the same job without wrecking the ozone. The companies adapted.
Right.
Oil, gas, coal. That's a completely bigger ask, as our sources put it. It underpins vast global industries, our entire transportation system, our modern way of life. It represents immense value.
And a hugely powerful, deeply embedded fossil fuel industry with massive political clout.
Exactly. The lobbying power is enormous. And the unfortunate consequence of this decades-long delay in serious action. Global temperatures are rising even faster than many early models predicted.
And we're seeing the results. More frequent, more severe natural disasters everywhere.
Tragically, yes. And that trend is only projected to get significantly worse in the coming years.
And these rising temperatures, melting ice, it directly impacts where we live. Ocean levels are projected to rise by a full 12 inches by 2050.
At least 12 inches, yeah. Some models suggest it could be even higher as feedback loops kick in and effects outpace those more conservative projections.
And that has a monumental impact, especially on low-lying coastal cities. You mentioned New Orleans.
New Orleans is a prime example.
Yeah.
Parts are expected to be permanently flooded. The existing levee systems, already under huge stress, will be pushed to their absolute limits, maybe beyond.
Yeah, in Miami.
Miami already gets that king tide or sunny day flooding.
Right, when it's not even raining.
Exactly. That's expected to become a much more frequent, maybe even daily, transformative reality in some areas, potentially turning entire neighborhoods into semi-aquatic zones.
Wow. The economic impact must be staggering, not just property loss.
Oh, it's far beyond that. It's the degradation of critical infrastructure, roads, power lines, sewage systems. It's the potential collapse of coastal real estate markets.
Yeah.
Significant population displacement.
Climate refugees, essentially.
Yes, forcing a complete rethink of urban planning from the ground up.
So when major cities, these crucial economic hubs, really start becoming uninhabitable in parts.
That's when governments will truly be punched in the face, as that source vividly put it.
Right. That stark reality will compel action.
It should, however. There's this fascinating, almost contradictory human tendency we see. People keep rebuilding in disaster-prone areas.
Yeah, think about California wildfires. Communities rebuild right in the same spot.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Which raises an important, maybe uncomfortable question for you, the listener. If you had to choose, would you rather your home was periodically, maybe even seasonally, flooded, dealing with the water, the repairs, the mold?
Oh, the mold.
Or would you rather it was completely destroyed by fire, offering, in a grim way, a clean slate to start over maybe elsewhere?
That is a really provocative thought. What would people choose?
Many might paradoxically prefer the destructive finality of fire over the chronic, grinding misery of constant flooding and repairs. It speaks volumes about our deep attachment to place, even when logic screams move.
Choose between two awful options. Reveals a lot about us.
Okay, so energy-wise, we won't be off fossil fuels entirely by 2050, right? That seems impossible.
Highly unlikely. They still provide something like 80% of global energy today. Getting that to zero in 25 years is a monumental task.
But the share will drop significantly.
That's the expectation, yes. Hopefully dropping to under 50%, maybe even as low as 20% in the most optimistic scenarios laid out.
How? What replaces it? Renewables alone?
Renewables will be huge, obviously. Solar, wind. But there will also be a strong concerted push for advanced nuclear energy, particularly small modular reactors, SMRs.
Ah, SMRs, heard about those. They're different from the old giant plants.
Very different. Think factory-built, standardized units. You can deploy them faster, more cheaply. They're designed with passive safety features, making them inherently safer.
And smaller, more flexible. Exactly. They can power smaller grids, remote communities, even industrial sites. It makes nuclear a much more accessible, attractive option for providing consistent, carbon-free baseload power, a key part of the puzzle.
Okay. And at the same time as this energy shift, you mentioned a huge demographic shift, people moving.
A monumental one. Right now, about 55% of the world lives in urban areas.
Okay.
But as coastal cities flood and warmer climates make other regions increasingly arid, prone to drought, urban areas are expected to swell dramatically.
Driven by climate refugees and just ongoing urbanization.
Both. Estimates vary, but the consensus suggests somewhere between 68% and maybe even a staggering 75% of the global population will live in urban areas by 2050.
75%? Wow. What does that mean for cities?
It means cities will be significantly more crowded, denser, and likely much more vertical.
Taller skyscrapers, more high-rises.
Even more than today. Building upwards becomes almost a necessity to accommodate that burgeoning urban population.
So, if you lived in New Orleans or Miami today, your home might be underwater, or you might live in a totally different city, possibly in a skyscraper by 2050.
It's entirely possible. These profound environmental and demographic shifts, rising waters, vertical cities, they will undoubtedly ripple through the global political landscape.
Which raises that important question for you listening. How will these fundamental changes redefine where we live, how we live? What does it mean for international relations, migration, borders?
Huge questions with no easy answers.
Okay, shifting gears again, maybe for a bit of potentially good news amid all this. World War III.
Yes, the big one.
The prediction is unlikely.
Unlikely in a traditional large-scale global conflict sense by 2050. Yes.
Why? What stops it?
Primarily, and perhaps grimly, it's thanks to the concept of mutually assured destruction. MAD.
Right. The nuclear deterrent.
Exactly. Born from the horror of the Manhattan Project and the attacks on Japan. It ensures that any large-scale direct fight between nuclear powers would inevitably result in the catastrophic destruction of both sides.
Yeah.
Maybe everyone.
So the fear of that outcome is just too powerful.
It's an incredibly powerful, albeit terrifying deterrent. It makes direct engagement just too risky.
It's true. We have, what, 9 nuclear powers now?
9 declared, yes. And while that fact itself can feel deeply unsettling, the stark reality is, since these weapons were developed and deployed, there hasn't been a single large-scale direct war between nuclear-armed nations.
Think about India and Pakistan. They've skirmished, gotten close.
Very close, multiple times. But full-scale war between them, both nuclear states, has so far been averted.
Now, Amiday does rely on the idea of rational state actors, right? That's the scary part, maybe. What about extremists?
That's the constant worry, absolutely. The non-state actor, the irrational leader. But so far, the system, the sheer existential threat, has held. And the prediction is this trend of avoiding direct, all-out nuclear war is likely to continue through 2050.
Okay. But if not World War III, what do we see with rising global tensions, especially between nuclear powers?
What's particularly insightful here, from the sources, is that we're more likely to see an escalation of proxy wars.
Ah, okay. Define that quickly.
Basically, major powers supporting opposing sides in conflict, financially, militarily, technologically, but without putting their own troops directly in conflict with each other.
So they fight indirectly through other countries.
Exactly. It allows them to compete, to exert influence without crossing that red line of direct confrontation that could trigger anime. It's a less destructive, though still incredibly tragic, alternative to nuclear war. It just shifts the suffering elsewhere.
Maintaining that terrifying balance. Okay. From the horrors of potential global war, let's pivot again, this time to the shifting power dynamics between nations. And here's one of the boldest, maybe most provocative predictions we found. The United States will, in essence, become the new France.
Okay, yes. Let's unpack that carefully.
Yes.
It's not meant as an insult to France.
Right. It needs context. What's striking here, and it's a key theme in understanding how global power shifts, is the idea of a once dominant power experiencing this sort of general decline in its global standing.
Okay, like who?
Well, think way back. Centuries ago, France was arguably the most powerful country in the Western world. Biggest economy, the language of diplomacy, culture.
The center of everything for a long time.
Exactly. But over time, that undisputed dominance faded. Now, France is still a significant nation, a nuclear power, absolutely. But its global influence isn't what it once was.
It illustrates that fundamental truth. Dominance never lasts forever. My own grandmother saw the British Empire go through a similar massive transition.
Right, from global superpower
to a much reduced, though still influential, role. These shifts are slow, often generational, but they seem almost inexorable historically.
And the prediction is the U.S. is heading down a similar path, maybe faster.
That's the projection. The U.S. has been the largest world economy since, the 1890s? And arguably the single most powerful nation since World War II ended.
Unquestioned dominance for decades.
But by 2050, that's expected to end. The U.S. is projected to be only the third largest economy.
Behind China and India?
Behind China and India, yes. China's already seen as a near peer in many ways, catching up technologically, economically.
And the U.S. is seen as politically volatile.
Increasingly so, yes, by many other countries. It makes long-term U.S. commitments feel less certain, less reliable. This erosion of soft power, its cultural, diplomatic influence, is a really significant, monumental shift.
Okay, third largest economy, declining soft power. What about the dollar? The reserve currency.
The dollar. Huge question. There's significant speculation it will not hold its position as the global reserve currency by 2050.
Why would countries want to move away from it?
Lots of reasons. Geopolitical leverage, diversifying risk, the U.S. using it for sanctions. But the problem is there's no single clear alternative ready to take its place.
Not the euro or the yuan.
The euro is a distant second. The yuan faces major hurdles with trust, convertibility, transparency. The yen, others. None are quite there.
And there's a catch-22.
Right. Big time. If a country holding massive dollar reserves were to suddenly dump them,
it would crash the dollar's value.
Exactly. Causing that nation to lose a huge chunk of its own wealth instantly. It's a very sticky situation. People theorize about multi-currency baskets, maybe even globalist digital currencies, but
that seems highly unlikely by 2050.
Very doubtful to be widely implemented by then, yeah.
Okay. But hey, some good news for me, maybe. English. Still the language of diplomacy.
Likely, yes. English is projected to remain the primary language of international business and diplomacy. So, selfishly, maybe you won't have to learn Mandarin after all.
Phew. Those 50,000 characters look daunting.
Although, let's be fair, by 2050, it's almost inconceivable we won't have extremely good universal translators.
The Babelfish.
Pretty much. Learning new alphabets or complex languages much less essential for communication, easing those cross-cultural barriers in ways we can barely imagine today.
Still, this overall shift, for many Americans, this is going to be a massive adjustment, isn't it?
Huge. Going from being the unquestioned superpower to sharing the stage or even being third, that's a profound psychological and national identity shift.
Which raises that important question for you listening. How does a nation adapt to a fundamentally new global role, especially one that's enjoyed such dominance for so long?
History, like the UK's experience, shows it's a deep, slow, often uncomfortable process. Requires rethinking national purpose, strategy, influence.
Okay, from the massive scale of geopolitics, let's zoom right back in. To the micro level, our daily lives, our bodies, the tech shaping them.
Right, and first up, heading back to space.
Moon bases. Are they really happening by 2050?
It's a pretty safe bet, according to the sources, that at least one will be operational.
Which one? US-China.
Could be either the China-Russia collaboration or the US-led International Artemis program. Both aim for a sustained human presence on the moon in the late 2030s.
So even with delays?
Even with likely delays, a permanent base for research, resource mining, highly likely. Think of it like an extension of the ISS.
A few astronauts doing science up there.
Exactly. Initially super cool, then maybe we just take it for granted after a few years. It's not about, galactic human expansion like colonizing Mars by then.
Right, more like crucial science outposts, testing tech, looking for resources.
Precisely. Important stepping stones.
I still think the ISS is unreasonably cool, I have to say. A constant human presence up there.
It is amazing. And speaking of space access, space tourism.
Is that going to be a real thing? Beyond just billionaires?
It's expected to become a major commercial industry by 2050, moving beyond just a handful of celebrities and the super rich.
Which still a luxury, though.
Undeniably still a luxury for the mega wealthy. But the number of opportunities, the flights, maybe short orbital hops, lunar flybys eventually, that's expected to expand dramatically.
Okay, that's exciting. Going to space has been my dream since I was like 11. The idea of it being even remotely possible, thrilling, even with the risks.
And the risks are very real. We have to acknowledge that. Recent tragedies like the Titanic submersible implosion.
Yeah, that was sobering.
It highlighted the incredible costs and dangers of this kind of extreme tourism, sparked important conversations about risk appetite, ethics, how society reacts when the wealthy face these dangers.
Right. It's complex, but the drive to explore is still there.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
But let's keep expectations grounded. Some experts are predicting deep space probes hitting 15% the speed of light by 2050.
15%? Wow, that sounds fast.
Our sources dismiss that as utterly insane.
Really? What?
Consider the Parker Solar Probe, our fastest thing ever.
Yeah, flying into the sun, practically.
It reaches a top speed of 0.064% the speed of light, and that's after years of complex gravity assists.
Okay, so 15% is...
Making something go 234 times faster in just 25 years, while also being able to send useful data back, that's way beyond our current physics and engineering. Just not happening.
Got it. So no interstellar travel soon, but moon bases are likely, space tourism for the rich grows, significant steps, but maybe not sci-fi dreams yet.
Realistic steps forward, exactly.
Okay, now let's shift dramatically again. From outer space to inner biology. This sounds incredibly optimistic, almost revolutionary.
It really does. The prediction. By 2050, the very first transplant of a complex bioengineered organ grown entirely from a patient's own cells is likely to have successfully happened.
Whoa. Grown from your own cells. That would be an absolute game changer for healthcare, wouldn't it?
Unbelievable game changer. Think about organ transplants today. They are, putting it mildly, just a mess.
How so?
Well, first, scarcity. You need someone to die, usually young and healthy, to donate.
Grim starting point.
Then, matching. You need the right size organ, correct blood type, and critically, geography. The recipient has to be close because organs have a super short shelf life hours sometimes.
So a lot get wasted.
Tragically, yes. About 20% of donated organs go unused because they expire before a match can be found and prepped.
20%? That's awful.
And even if you get a transplant, your body immune system sees it as foreign, tries to destroy it. Exactly. Which means a lifetime of expensive immunosuppressant drugs. And those drugs have their own nasty side effects, higher risk of infections, certain cancers.
Yeah.
It's a constant battle.
Okay, so it's far from a perfect solution now. What's this better way the sources envision?
The fascinating idea is made to order organs using your own cells.
Your own cells. So no rejection, no scarcity.
Exactly. Eliminates both problems overnight. Researchers are working hard on two main approaches.
Okay.
One is creating an artificial scaffold, like a 3D printed structure, in the precise shape of the organ, a heart, a liver.
Okay, a framework.
The other method is maybe even more ingenious. Take an existing organ, maybe a pig's organ, or a donated human one unsuitable for transplant. Flesh out all its original cells, leaving just the natural collagen structure.
So you get a perfect biological scaffold.
Precisely. Then you take the patient's own stem cells, and remarkably, these can now be derived from something as simple as a skin cell, thanks to amazing Japanese research from the early 2000s.
Wow, skin cells become stem cells.
Yes. And you grow those stem cells within that scaffold, guiding them to regenerate a perfectly matched, fully functional organ.
Yeah.
It's personalized medicine on a whole new level.
That sounds absolutely incredible. Mind-blowing, actually. So the obvious question, why isn't it happening right now? What are the big hurdles?
Good question. Our sources point to two main challenges: scale and functionality outside the body.
Meaning?
Well, growing small bits of tissue or simple structures, that's already possible. But cultivating a full, complex organ like a heart or a kidney with all its intricate blood vessels, nerves.
Getting it all connected and working.
Exactly. And getting it to actually function reliably outside the body before you transplant it, that's incredibly hard. You need to perfectly mimic the conditions inside the body to make the organ, actually work. Pump blood, filter toxins, whatever it's supposed to do.
Not just be a blob of cells.
Right. There are even these provocative, ethically tricky thought experiments, like using a brain-dead person as a temporary liver starter guy.
Oh, what now?
Yeah, using their body's biological environment to help mature newly grown livers before transplant. It just highlights the immense ethical and practical complexities involved in making this a reality.
Wow. Okay. But even if we get there, before people get too excited about living forever.
Right. Important caveat.
Our sources are clear. This does not mean biological immortality is around the corner by 2050.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Even if we achieve this incredible feat of swapping out aging parts for new ones, you won't get to live for thousands of years like some modern ship of Theseus, just endlessly replacing bits.
Why not? What's the limit?
The human body, especially the brain, seems to have a natural maximum lifespan, currently estimated around 125, maybe 150 years tops. There are fundamental aging processes we can't just bypass by swapping organs.
And replacing your brain.
That wouldn't extend your life. It would essentially create a new person, a different consciousness. Your original identity wouldn't persist. So, revolutionary healthcare, yes. Immortality, no.
Okay, good clarification. Limits still exist. Now, moving from our bodies to our digital interactions, the metaverse. Is that still a thing?
The prediction is the metaverse will be a thing by 2050, yes. But probably not the all-encompassing everyone lives there version Meta, Facebook was pushing.
More like?
No.
More likely something like a highly advanced VR version of platforms like Second Life, used for specific things, gaming, social meetups, maybe professional training, virtual conferences.
So specific applications, not a replacement for real life.
Probably not. However, augmented reality, AR, is expected to see a huge explosion, with really practical uses way beyond just gaming.
Ah, AR. That feels more immediate somehow, like Pokemon Go was just the start.
Exactly. For many, that was their first taste digital stuff overlaid on the real world. But AR is already getting super practical, seamlessly integrated. Like the IKEA app. See furniture in your room.
Perfect example. Or LensCrafters letting you virtually try on glasses on your face.
Yeah, those are useful.
I genuinely believe AR, fitting rooms for clothes, accurately showing how things drape and fit on your actual body will be common in retail in maybe the next 2 to 5 years.
That would save a lot of hassle. Okay, so AR booms. What about VR, virtual reality?
The VR will definitely continue to grow for those dedicated uses, immersive gaming, fitness like Supernatural, training simulations for surgeons or pilots. But the fundamental need to wear a headset, often still kind of cumbersome and isolating, that remains a significant barrier to entry for widespread, all-day, everyday use.
Right. It limits how ubiquitous it can become compared to something on your phone or eventually maybe just light glasses for AR.
Exactly. AR has that potential for seamless integration in a way VR struggles with.
Okay. And one last tech bit, brain-computer interfaces, BCIs.
Right, BCIs. By 2050, the prediction is they'll be much more common and widely adopted for people with paralysis or missing limbs.
So real medical breakthroughs.
Truly tangible, life-changing medical breakthroughs. Moving from experimental labs to being a standard, hopefully affordable option to restore function and independence, that's huge.
That is huge, but not the sci-fi mind control stuff.
Probably not. It's important to temper expectations there. Currently, BCIs are quite limited compared to how they're shown in movies. No mind reading, no downloading memories, no uploading consciousness.
Not plugging into the Matrix.
Not by 2050, no. The sci-fi style direct brain-to-computer interfaces, where you effortlessly control everything with a thought. Our sources say that's extremely unlikely within this time frame. The focus will, and really should, remain on those incredible targeted medical applications.
Improving quality of life for people with severe disabilities. Makes sense.
Definitely.
Okay. So these incredible advances, moon bases, bioorgans, AR becoming mainstream, they paint this picture of a world both familiar and radically different.
A strange mix.
But some of the boldest predictions we found venture right into social and political upheaval, closer to home, particularly for us in the United States.
Yes, this one is certainly bold and likely to provoke some strong reactions.
What is it?
The prediction is that the United States will have a truly leftist party by 2050.
A truly leftist party in the U.S. Explain that, because right now...
Right. On a global political spectrum, the current Democratic Party in the U.S. is often seen as moderately right-wing, especially compared to European social democratic parties.
Okay.
And the Republican Party is generally viewed as far-right. So the idea of a genuinely left-wing party gaining real traction in the U.S., where socialism is still often thrown around as a scare word.
It seems almost unthinkable to many.
It does. However, politics often acts like a pendulum, right? It swings back and forth. Maybe not perfectly, maybe not always predictably,
Right.
but disillusionment breeds change.
Okay, so what specific forces would drive such a huge fundamental shift in American politics? That seems like a massive swing.
Our analysis points to a couple of key potential drivers converging. First, the current flirting with authoritarianism, which many observers agree is pretty unprecedented in U.S. history.
Okay, that instability.
Combined with the projected end of unchallenged American economic supremacy that we talked about earlier, being the third largest economy, loss of soft power.
Right.
That combination could potentially cause an unprecedented level of disillusionment among a large part of the population. Deep dissatisfaction with both existing political options.
And that disillusionment opens the door.
It could pave the way for a meaningful, genuinely left-wing movement focused perhaps on economic inequality, social safety nets, climate action, to form and gain real political traction.
So the prediction isn't like a socialist state overnight?
No, not that. But the emergence of a major party that would be considered genuinely left-wing by, say, European standards. There's even a specific prediction floating around for legislation resembling a New Deal.
A New Deal, like
Yeah.
major economic reforms.
Exactly. Something aimed at significantly addressing inequality, maybe expanding social programs, predicted to be either in the works or maybe even implemented by 2044 or 2049. A big reorientation.
Wow. What's really insightful here, giving some historical context, is looking back at the period the Make America Great Again movement often seems nostalgic for. The 1950s, 60s.
Right, that perceived golden era.
A time when life was demonstrably better economically for a lot of white Americans, especially the working class.
True, the post-war boom.
But what's often overlooked, or maybe conveniently forgotten in that nostalgia, is a crucial reason for that widespread prosperity and economic mobility.
Okay, what was it?
A staggering top marginal income tax rate of 94%.
94%. Wow. How did that work?
Well, crucially, it's marginal. It didn't mean all income was taxed at 94%, only the income above a very high threshold.
Okay, so only on the very top earnings.
Exactly. Back then, it kicked in on income over $200,000, which today would be equivalent to roughly $2.5 million a year.
So taxing the super rich at extremely high rates.
Precisely. This incredibly progressive tax structure was explicitly designed to redistribute wealth downwards quite significantly. It funded massive public investment, infrastructure, education, and played a huge role in economic equality and opportunity. Can you even imagine proposing that today? 94% on earnings over $2.5 million.
It seems politically impossible now. But that downward redistribution was key to making the American dream accessible back then.
Think about that Archie Bunker analogy people use.
Yeah, the working class guy.
High school dropout, works on the docks, blue-collar job. Yet he could own a house, own a car, comfortably support his family on that single income.
Right. A life that feels out of reach for many college graduates today, buried in debt.
Exactly. So the prediction from our sources is that legislation aimed at making that kind of life possible again, maybe through similar significant wealth redistribution mechanisms, will either be actively debated in the works or maybe even starting to be implemented by 2050.
Driven by that growing disillusionment, the rising inequality, the demand for fairness.
That's the theory.
Interesting. This whole dive into historical economics and its potential future raises a really important question for you, the listener. Is a return to much higher wealth redistribution, a stronger safety net, even if it's called a New Deal, is that the path to a revitalized American dream, greater stability, or is it an unwelcome, maybe even detrimental shift away from current economic thinking?
Yeah. Big question. And it's also fascinating to note those cultural differences in political fears, right?
How so?
You mentioned in Europe, the fear of fascism often feels more potent, more historically immediate, whereas in the US, sometimes the fear of socialism seems more prominent, maybe rooted in the Cold War.
That's a very astute point. Our collective histories definitely shape our present political anxieties and our visions for the future in very different ways.
Okay. So as we kind of pull back and look towards 2050, what a journey. We've explored a future with AI that's everywhere, but maybe highly contentious.
A climate crisis finally forcing serious, expensive government action, literally reshaping our cities.
A profound shift in global power dynamics, with the US maybe taking a different role.
Astonishing medical breakthroughs like bioengineered organs, balanced with maybe more cautious steps into space.
And even a potential fundamental political realignment right here in the US.
It's a future, as our sources paint it, filled with both just immense challenges and, frankly, incredible opportunities.
A world that will feel somehow both familiar and radically different, often in those subtle digital infrastructural ways we talked about, the things that creep up on you.
Exactly. The exact predictions, maybe some hit, some miss. But the underlying trends, the forces driving these changes, they seem unmistakably clear.
And hey, as for one final, maybe less world-altering, but perhaps impactful prediction for you listening.
Oh, what now?
One of the original voices from our source material actually foresees his own retirement from doing fact-based YouTube channels. Pictures himself enjoying golf or shuffleboard.
Yeah. A well-deserved rest, perhaps.
So I have to say, as an American born after 1980, the whole concept of retirement itself sometimes feels like a rather distant, almost mythical future.
I hear that. A concept under reconstruction, maybe.
But regardless of which specific predictions materialize, this whole deep dive, I think, has really illuminated one powerful truth.
What's that?
The future isn't just something that passively happens to us. It's actively being shaped right now by the decisions we make today.
The technologies we embrace or choose to regulate, our collective willingness or unwillingness to confront these huge realities like climate change, like economic inequality.
Exactly. So as you go about your day after listening to this, we really encourage you to consider, what one change do you think will most define the world of 2050? And maybe, what role can you play, however small it feels, in helping shape that future?
A powerful thought to leave with.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into 2050. Welcome to the Deep Dive. We sift through stacks of research articles, different viewpoints, and basically try to pull out the essential stuff you need to know.
Yeah, distilling it all down.
Exactly. And today, we're doing something humans always try to do, looking into the future. Specifically, the year 2050, which sounds far off, but it's only 25 years away.
It really isn't that far. And predicting the future, well, it's famously hard, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Just think back. Bitcoin, right? 2008. Someone called it the stupidest thing I'd ever heard of.
Wow.
And then it hits, what, $120,000? Just shows how unpredictable things can be.
That's a perfect example. And, you know, our sources are saying we're actually at these extremely volatile tipping points right now, like across the board, politics, the economy, tech, climate change, medicine.
Everything feels a bit precarious.
Yeah. So this deep dive, our mission really is to explore what 2050 could look like in all these areas. We want to pull out the key ideas, look at different takes on it, and honestly, just make it easy to understand, so you feel genuinely clued in about what might be coming.
Right. There are some bold predictions out there, some conflicting views. We'll try to navigate all that and give you a really rich picture of the next quarter century.
Okay, let's jump in. Thinking about the last 25 years is kind of useful, actually. The biggest changes. They haven't really been flying cars or hoverboards, have they?
No, not at all. The physical world feels surprisingly similar in some ways. The huge shifts happened like inside and on computers.
The internet, smartphones, they completely changed daily life.
Fundamentally, in ways people just didn't see coming back then. And that might tell us something about where the next big changes will hit. Probably digital again, or at least digitally driven.
Which brings us straight to AI. Artificial intelligence. It feels like it's going to be everywhere.
Absolutely. We've seen it go from, chess computers to being crucial in manufacturing, logistics, diagnosing diseases, even teaching.
But it's important to clarify, right? We're mostly talking about narrow AI.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
AI that's trained for one specific job and gets incredibly good at that job.
Okay, but what about the big one? General AI. Human-level intelligence. That's where the debate really heats up in our sources.
It really does. One camp says basically, no way by 2050.
Why not?
The argument is it would need a digital replica of a human brain. And we're just nowhere near understanding the brain well enough to do that. Miles away.
Okay, that makes sense. But there's another view.
Oh, yeah. A strong counter-argument says general AI will definitely be here by 2050.
Definitely. How?
Well, partly because the definition keeps shifting. It's a moving target, as one source put it. Maybe it won't have empathy or real creativity or get jokes, but it might be as good as or better than humans at 95% of tasks we currently do. Think about chess. Again, computers beat grandmasters without thinking like a human. They just compute incredibly well.
So different path, similar outcome, potentially.
Exactly. That's the argument.
This powerful AI, it ties into something else that feels very current, this idea of a post-truth world.
That term really took off around 2016, didn't it? Where what people believe or feel becomes more important than, well, objective reality.
And generative AI, the stuff that creates text, images, video, it's like pouring fuel on that fire.
Totally. Deep fakes are becoming incredibly easy to make. We see the sort of frivolous uses like fake celebrity stuff, but the real danger is political.
Yeah, using it to create fake evidence for some narrative.
And the chilling part is the AI we have now, it's the worst it will ever be. It's only going to get better, more convincing. Detecting fakes will get harder and harder, even if you're naturally skeptical.
That's worrying, especially when you link it to the rise of authoritarianism globally.
Right. Imagine fake videos or audio used as proof for government lies. It could completely undermine trust in anything, a huge societal threat.
So what do we do? Can we regulate it?
Well, some argue we have to. Maybe regulate it heavily, even outlaw certain types. Perhaps rethink ideas like free speech absolutism in this new context.
But can you actually outlaw it?
That's the counter-argument. It's tough. If, say, Europe bans it, does that just mean the US and China race ahead? It's classic international competition.
Feels like the genie is already out of the bottle.
That's exactly the phrase one source used. So maybe the focus shifts to things like digital watermarks or certificates to prove if content is real or AI generated. Yeah. But it's a huge challenge.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. Away from the digital, back to the physical planet. Climate change. The prediction here is kind of grimly optimistic. Governments will finally take it seriously by 2050.
Yeah, that's the take. But why? Because they'll start seeing effects of it that just cost too much money.
Like massive floods, damage, hitting the bottom line.
Exactly. It's a bit cynical, maybe, but realistic. It's interesting to compare it to the ozone layer issue.
Oh, right. The Montreal Protocol back in '87. That actually worked.
It really did. They phased out CFCs, those damaging chemicals, and the ozone layer is healing. It shows we can do these things globally when we put our minds to it.
So why didn't that happen with fossil fuels and renewable energy?
Well, the sources point a finger squarely at the oil lobby.
Yeah.
Just way more powerful, way more entrenched than the big refrigeration lobby was back then.
Makes sense. So because of that delay, what impacts will we see by 2050?
Pretty significant ones. Sea levels are projected to rise about 12 inches, a foot.
A foot? Wow. What does that mean for coastal cities?
It means places like New Orleans, parts of it could be permanently flooded. Miami will see much more frequent, much worse flooding. Think storm surges, high tides. The existing defenses will be under serious strain.
And yet, people tend to rebuild in disaster zones, don't they?
It's a strange human tendency. Will people just accept living somewhere that's underwater part of the time? Or will we finally see more managed retreat, moving people away from the riskiest areas? That's a huge question for the next 25 years.
And this ties into energy, obviously. We won't be off fossil fuels by 2050, right?
No, not completely. They're about 80% of our energy now. The hope is that it drops below 50%, maybe even down to 20%.
What fills the gap?
Renewables, obviously, but our sources make a really strong case for nuclear power.
Nuclear, still controversial for some.
It is, but the argument, especially for new, smaller modular reactors, is that it's potentially a solution to all our problems, at least in the short to medium term. Clean, reliable baseload power. It needs to be part of the mix.
Okay. And all these changes, climate refugees maybe, general population growth, it means more people living in cities.
A lot more. We're at about 55% urban now. That's projected to jump to somewhere between 68% and 75% by 2050.
So cities get more crowded.
More crowded and much more vertical. Expect more skyscrapers, taller ones, maybe for homes as well as offices. How we live in these denser, taller cities, that's another big adaptation coming.
Okay, let's talk geopolitics. Some slightly better news, maybe. World War III, unlikely.
Unlikely in the classic sense, yeah. And the reason is pretty stark.
Yeah.
Nuclear weapons.
Mutually assured destruction.
Exactly. It sounds crazy, but MAD has arguably kept the peace between major powers since 1945. You see flare-ups, like between India and Pakistan, both nuclear powers, but they haven't gone all the way.
Because the consequences are unthinkable.
Right, but this whole stability thing relies on having rational state actors. That's the key assumption.
So if not global war, what do the sources predict?
More proxy wars. An escalation, actually. Nuclear powers backing different sides in regional conflicts, fighting indirectly. It's seen as safer than direct confrontation. Still devastating, obviously, but avoids the nuclear Armageddon scenario.
And how does this affect the big players, specifically the U.S.?
Well, this is a big one. The U.S., the sole superpower for decades, projected to be the third largest economy by 2050.
Third. Behind who?
China and India. There's even a historical comparison drawn to France.
France? How so?
France used to be the global power. French, the language of diplomacy. Then, its dominance faded. The U.S. might be heading for a similar adjustment, being a major power, but not the superpower.
That's a huge shift. What about things like soft power, the dollar?
Sources suggest U.S. soft power is waning due to political instability. And there's lots of talk about the dollar losing its status as the world's reserve currency.
Is there a replacement? The euro. The yuan.
Not really a clear one. The euro's a distant second. The yuan has issues. Right. And there's a kind of catch-22. If countries start dumping their dollar reserves, the dollar's value crashes, hurting them too. So it might just stick around for a while.
And the language of diplomacy. Still English.
Probably, yeah. Especially with maybe extremely good universal translators becoming common by 2050. AI helping out there too.
Still, sharing or losing that top spot, that's going to be a massive adjustment for many Americans psychologically.
Definitely a big shift in national identity.
Okay, let's pivot to some potentially exciting stuff. Space, health, digital life, moon bases. Are we actually getting moon bases?
Looks like it. There are projects planned. China and Russia have one, the International Artemis Program, aiming for the late 2030s. So yeah, at least one operational base by 2050 seems like a pretty safe bet.
What are they for? Stepping stone to Mars?
Not immediately. Think more like the International Space Station, but on the moon. Research, maybe mining resources. It'll become more common, but probably not the start of some golden era of galactic human expansion just yet.
Okay, keep expectations in check. But what about space tourism?
Ah, yes. That's predicted to be a major commercial industry by 2050. Still probably a luxury for the, mega wealthy.
But could it actually fund real space exploration?
That's the hope some people have. Whether it pans out, we'll see. It's still risky, obviously. But who wouldn't want to go, right?
Yeah, wow. But deep space travel, like really fast probes, there was a prediction about 15% the speed of light.
Yeah, that one seems ambitious. The current record holder, the Parker Solar Probe, maxes out at about 0.064% of light speed.
Okay, 0.064%.
Right, getting to 15%. That's like 230 times faster in 25 years. Seems highly unlikely with current physics and engineering.
Good reality check. Now, healthcare. This sounds like science fiction, but maybe it isn't. Bioengineered organs, like the first transplant.
This could be truly revolutionary. Think about current transplants. You need a donor. The organ doesn't last long outside the body. You need the right blood type, size, location.
And then lifelong drugs to stop rejection, which have their own risks.
Exactly. The idea here is to grow an organ like a kidney or liver from the patient's own stem cells.
So no rejection, no waiting list.
Potentially, yes. They're working on using scaffolds, maybe artificial or from a donor organ stripped of its cells, and then seeding it with the patient's cells to grow a perfect match.
That's incredible. What are the hurdles?
The main ones right now are scale and functionality. Getting these lab-grown mini organs to grow into full-size, fully working organs inside the body. It's complex.
But solvable.
The optimism is there. The challenges seem like engineering problems that time and research can likely overcome.
Does this mean we get immortality, swapping out parts forever?
No, not by 2050 or maybe ever in that way.
Yeah.
Humans seem to have a max lifespan, maybe 125, 150 years tops. Just swapping organs wouldn't change that fundamentally.
No.
And replicating your brain, your consciousness, That's way, way beyond 2050. True biological immortality is not on the cards.
Okay, good to know. Let's talk digital realities. Augmented reality, AR. That's predicted to boom, right?
Huge explosion expected. We've seen tastes of it. Pokemon Go was early AR. IKEA lets you place virtual furniture in your room.
I've seen virtual try-on for glasses.
Right. And soon, maybe in just 2-5 years, you could have AR fitting rooms for clothes that even know your specific body type. AR is just much easier to integrate into daily life than VR. Less clunky.
What about VR then? The metaverse, is that still happening?
A version of it will probably exist. Think more like a really advanced Second Life in VR, not necessarily Facebook's grand vision. VR's main strengths will likely stay in gaming, fitness, education, maybe training for dangerous jobs.
But the big headsets are still a barrier.
Yeah, they limit the mainstream appeal. Unless we get widespread direct brain to computer interfaces.
Whoa, BCIs, brain-computer interfaces. Are those really coming?
By 2050, the prediction is they'll be common, but mainly for medical uses, helping people with paralysis control wheelchairs or prosthetic limbs with their thoughts.
Okay, so not sci-fi mind control for everyone.
Not yet, no. Current tech is still pretty limited. Some say it still kind of sucks, but it's improving incredibly fast. So real practical help for people with specific needs seems very likely.
Okay, final topic. And this one, according to our sources, is one of the boldest predictions. U.S. politics. The idea is the U.S. will have a genuinely leftist party by 2050.
That's the prediction. And it's based on looking at the U.S. political spectrum compared to, say, Europe. The argument is the U.S. currently has a moderately right-wing party and a far-right party.
So no true left by global standards. Why would that change?
The theory is politics acts like a pendulum. And because the U.S. is currently, as the source puts it, flirting with authoritarianism in ways it hasn't before, and because it's likely facing the end of its economic dominance, those two factors could cause a massive and arguably disproportionate swing back the other way, towards the left.
Interesting. So the Democratic Party might shift significantly.
That's the speculation. It could evolve to fill that space, pushing for policies that would actually be considered left-wing in Europe, maybe even leading to something like a New Deal around 2044, 2049.
A New Deal? What would that even look like?
Well, it's fascinating to look at the context for the original Make America Great Again sentiment, that nostalgia for the 50s and 60s.
Right, the post-war boom.
Exactly. But what's often forgotten is that era had, for instance, a 94% top marginal income tax rate.
94%? On who?
On the highest earners, equivalent to maybe $2.5 million today. That high tax rate allowed for significant downward redistribution of wealth. It helped make that comfortable blue-collar life, the house, the car, possible.
That's a stark contrast to today. You can't even imagine proposing 94% now.
Right. And the prediction isn't that we'll go back to 94% by 2050. But the idea is that future policies driven by this potential leftward swing might try to recreate the conditions for that kind of broad-based prosperity, making the American dream achievable again, perhaps through different kinds of wealth redistribution or social programs.
It's a really provocative thought about how economic policy shapes everything else.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground today from, growing new organs and AR glasses.
Yeah, the really exciting stuff.
The serious challenges of climate change, the future of AI and truth, and these huge potential shifts in global power.
It's a mix, isn't it? It's huge potential, huge risks.
And the key thing is, these aren't just abstract ideas. These changes, if they happen, they're going to affect every single one of you listening. This is about the world you'll be living in.
Exactly. We've looked at a future where AI is deeply woven into life, maybe posing risks we haven't fully grasped yet, where the planet itself forces us to change, where the global order might look quite different. It's complex, definitely unpredictable in many ways.
So here's something to think about as we wrap up. Looking ahead to 2050, with all these potential breakthroughs and massive shifts on the horizon, what's the one change, maybe in your own life, that you're most preparing for, or perhaps most looking forward to?
Good question to ponder.
Definitely something to mull over. We'll leave it there for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
If you enjoy this video, please like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell to the later update from my channel. Thank you for watching till the end, and see you in the next video.